Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063. The Game. Jared Stillman on vacation this week. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in until 6 p.m. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. And Stillman and Company, as always, is presented by the Southern Bank of Tennessee, your bank for small business. David Reed is here as well. D-Mace, how was your weekend? Excited for a fun couple days here from 3 to 6.
Yeah, it'll be nice. I got to get myself readjusted to this time. I told you, and you probably you told me you were going through it a little bit too. It's like I got a regimen in the morning, and it's all predicated on me doing an 11 o'clock show, so everything gets done in a timely manner. I'm off, boom, so everything flows. What do they call it?
You've got a routine.
Synchronized.
Yeah.
Yes, everything is synchronized. I have a routine, and when I am doing the 3 o'clock show now, everything finishes at 10. So now I'm looking around like, man, what am I to do?
Yeah, it's like, I've got 4 hours instead of 1
exactly.
until we go on the air. So today and tomorrow, it'll be me and D-Mace from 3 to 6 talking some Titans with you today. We're also going to get into the possible expansion of the college football playoff. Reports over the weekend that there is momentum trending towards a 16-team playoff with some auto bids for each of the power conferences. And we'll also talk a little bit about Derek Carr's decision to retire and how that could impact the Titans quarterback room. D-Mace, quickly before we get into Titans talk, rookie minicamp over the weekend, we'll talk plenty about that today. I just want to shout out Vanderbilt baseball. What a fun series out in Knoxville that was this weekend. Tennessee took game 1, Vandy took game 2, and then game 3, 2-hour rain delay, right around. Vandy comes back, hits back-to-back home runs with the rain delay in between, and then wins it 7-5. So Vandy gets a big series win in Knoxville this weekend.
Yeah, I end up seeing the last game, and I end up watching it later in the day. It was like late at night. Maybe I caught the recap of it, but it was the rain delay. But that's just an exciting series that they have, and they talked about it throughout the 3 games about the series between Vanderbilt and Tennessee and how far back it goes. So, but Tennessee hadn't won. Vandy hadn't won up in Tennessee in 11 years, somewhere around there.
It had been a while since they had taken a series out there. So, big series win for Vandy, likely locks them into hosting a regional in a couple of weeks. And, as long as they don't get swept by Kentucky this weekend, I think there's a decent chance they could be a top 8 seed and host a super regional. So could be some postseason baseball coming to Nashville in a few weeks. So excited for Tim Corbin and Vanderbilt baseball. Also an exciting weekend over at St. Thomas Sports Park. Rookie minicamp. First time we got a chance to see Cam Ward and the rest of the rookie class in the two-tone blue. Quickly, some just takeaways. We're going to get more in depth throughout the show. My first big one, Derek, was Femi Oladejo. Just looking at that dude going out there in, they weren't in pads. They were in shorts. He looks the part.
He's a ball of energy, I tell you that. And you need one of those guys. I think they were lacking that last year to some extent, losing some of the guys that they lost on that defensive side of the ball. That energy guy, they did miss at times. So, him coming in as a rookie, hopefully he can keep it up, but man, he came in and he's excited, just like all those rookies are.
You see him on the field and you understand why teams and personnel people liked his ceiling, because he's got the frame. You could see the speed, you could see the power. I know that he hasn't played the position very long, switched over from inside linebacker midway through his last year at UCLA, but I can understand it now. I think a lot of Titans fans at 52 who probably wanted a wide receiver at that pick were like, why are we taking a project edge rusher? But after seeing him on the field, I can see the physical tools that led to the Titans making him the 52nd.
Yeah, it's all about, projecting what a guy will do once he get in the NFL. You see the potential, you see the measurables, and then, the production may not be there or may not be some consistency, but guys like that, you do enough research on that player, and when you draft him, they draft him in the second round, third round?
Yeah, second round.
And when you draft a guy that high, you've done a lot of homework on him. and you feel that the traits that he have, the attributes will translate to the NFL better than it did in college realm.
And based on that one mic'd up video, again, we're basing all of this off of the small amount that we actually saw from this weekend. It was open practice for about an hour on Saturday. And then the Titans social media account put a bunch of clips out there. We got about a minute of Femi Oladejo mic'd up. He's not going to be a character concern at the very least. You know that. I mean, he's out there saying, man, this is the NFL. And he's hyping up the rest of his teammates. I think we can feel pretty good that if Femi Oladejo isn't a good player in the league, it's not going to be because of who he is as a person or his energy level. Another thing that stood out to me, D-Mace, Gunnar Helm. I thought he looked the part out there also at the tight end position. Maybe not the biggest guy out there. And I know there's been concerns about his ability to be a blocking tight end, but it did seem like from the very few clips that we got from this weekend, it looked like Gunnar Helm could end up competing with Chigakonkwo and Josh Wiley for significant snaps at tight end.
Yeah, they're only going to show you what they want to show you. And this is a guy that, he's going to have to come out and prove himself. He's going to have to come out and compete. I thought he was a good player in college, and now he's going to have to prove that he can develop as a player. So that tight end room is not a room that has a lot of catches inside of it.
No, it is not.
You see some potential with a few guys, but you need more. And you hope a guy like Gunnar Helm can bring that more to your lineup. Is he a big guy? No. But you just hope that he can pose a matchup problem somehow, some way within your offense.
Tight end is going to be one of the more intriguing positions, not just in training camp, but I think throughout the season, because those are three young guys. All were taken in different draft classes, but all still on their rookie contract. One of them has to prove that he can be tight end one. He can be the guy moving forward to be that safety blanket over the middle of the field for Cam Ward. Or else I think the Titans are going to be forced to spend significant draft capital or a lot of money in free agency to go get a guy. And I don't really know what the free agent class looks like next year. But at some point, if you're going to get Cam Ward, somebody he can rely on at tight end, and we saw how much he threw to Elijah Arroyo last year at Miami. He likes having a good tight end. I think if one of those three guys doesn't show significant strides this season, they're probably going to have to use a little bit more premier capital to go and find a guy who can be that number one tight end.
Yeah, because you have a rookie, you have a first year, two rookies, a second-year player in Josh Wiley.
Right.
And then Chig's been there, 3 years now? Going on, this will be his fourth?
His first year was 2022. So this will be his fourth year.
Okay. So altogether, the experience is 5-6 years. No more than 6 years of experience within that room. And then if you start bringing down the catches, it's like, man, it doesn't ring of, a position that you don't need to worry about. Listen, I like Chig. Chig is like an appetizer. That's what he's been like. He just gives you a little, just a little bit, just
a little taste every once in a while.
Yeah, right before dinner, just give you a little appetizer. Nothing big, just give it to you. It's good, but it doesn't come all the time.
Right.
It's just this little bit. And then you got the rest of the meal and he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
They need him to be not only the appetizer, but the meal. And he hasn't shown that quite. Now, injury, he's been banged up, but he hasn't been as consistent a pass catcher as he needs to be. Now, he's shown the versatility. He's shown the ability to be a matchup problem. But even when you're a matchup problem, if you don't catch the football, that means nothing.
Right. And I think that's the perfect way to put it is you keep seeing these flashes that make you think maybe it's starting to click for Chigakonkwo, and it just never seems to sustain.
Exactly.
He'll have one game where he has 4 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. You're like, here he comes. And then the next 2 games combined, he has 2 catches for 27 yards or something like that. So we'll see. He's going to be challenged in this room with Josh Wiley coming back, hopefully healthy, and now Gunnar Helm. And don't forget David Martin Robinson. He was the princess, or he was one of the big training camp crushes for a lot of Titans fans last year, and he's back in that room heading into training camp this year. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to chime in, you can text or call. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in today for Jared Stillman. When we come back, we're going to look at wide receiver. We got our resident wide receiver today, so we're going to talk a little bit about that group of rookie wide receivers, the draft picks, Chimere Dike, Alec Ayomanor, and also Xavier Restrepo, who's made a lot of headlines this week, including from our friend Jared Stillman over the weekend after his performance at rookie minicamp. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in for Jared Stillman today. Stillman & Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
Your wide receiver group?
You know, Xavier's been a really productive college player. I mean, you look at all the names of receivers that have played at the University of Miami, and he's at the top, which is impressive. he might not necessarily be the biggest or the fastest player that's probably ever come out of Miami, but he's been incredibly productive, and he's found ways to play football the right way. So he'll start out as a slot player for us, and he'll have every chance to compete just like everybody else will. But you look at his production and what he's done as a football player, and he puts himself in pretty good position to be competitive. And even though he didn't run the fastest time in the world, I'm excited to see what he can do.
So the 40 time wasn't that big a deal for you guys?
I mean, it all matters. Yeah, I mean, it matters. But I think you see the football player and you see the speed that he plays with when he plays. I wouldn't have thought that would have been the time that he ran. But that's how you go from a potential draft pick to being an undrafted free agent at the end of the day. And he's got a lot to prove, and I'm excited to see him do it.
Cam, did you end up seeing a lot more of him than maybe you would have?
Yeah, of course. I mean, watch a lot of tape on Cam, and you see all the plays that Xavier made over his career, particularly this past year. All the players on that offense, we had a little bit more familiarity with just because of the nature of how much film you watch when you're evaluating a quarterback. And then you got a chance to be exposed to him at the pro day. And then again, he was there for the private as well. So those guys, Arroyo, the tight end, and a couple of those other guys that have signed other places, we had pretty good familiarity with those players.
That was Brian Callahan after this week's rookie mini camp, talking about Xavier Restrepo and what the Titans have seen from him since he's arrived, what they saw from him as they were going through the scouting process. And Restrepo certainly made an impression this weekend in his first time in a Titans uniform. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today here on Stillman and Company, with you till 6 p.m. Going to dive into the wide receivers here. Mentioned before the break, we have our resident wide receiver in the house. Let's talk some young wide receivers, and I think that was probably the focal point of rookie minicamp outside of Cam Ward this weekend, was those three young receivers, Xavier Restrepo, Chimere Dike, and Alec Iamaner, getting their first reps with the Titans. Thoughts, D-Mace, about what we can see from this young group? I know TD put out there that Xavier Restrepo was leading the line with most of the wide receiver drills. Looked like the most polished guy out there, but obviously a lot to like in terms of the traits for DK and Iamaner.
Yeah, I think all of these guys will find their place, hopefully, within this offense this year, because they're going to need them outside of, again, Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett. I was about to say Tyler Boyd. Tyler Lockett, there's not a lot of catches, even with Jefferson being in there, and I think it's Porsche, him being there as well. They still don't have a lot of catches within that room outside of those two guys. So they're going to have one of these younger guys step up, whether it's DK, Iamaner, or Restrepo. Now, Restrepo is going to look a little bit more polished because he's been with Cam. He's more of a route runner. He's not going to beat you with the speed down the field. He's going to beat you with the quickness. I do agree with Brian Callahan. I would have never thought he would run a 4.8. Yeah. Looking at him on film and then knowing he ran a 4.8, it doesn't match. Maybe through the training, he got tight or gained a little bit too much weight. But this guy that I saw on film doesn't look like the guy that ran a 40 at a 4.8. That may be a good thing,
right?
Because you put him on the field, put some pads on him. Now he's able to, be a little bit faster for whatever reason than his time shows, and he's going to have that immediate, rapport with Ward, and those other guys are not. But they're going to pick up quickly. I'm pretty sure.
I think before the 40 time, Restrepo was being mocked in late third round, early fourth round. And then the 4.8 happened, and he started falling, and I think he was being mocked 6th, 7th round, and eventually goes undrafted. But this is a guy, like Callahan said, Michael Irvin, Andre Johnson, neither of those guys had as many yards, catches, and touchdowns as Xavier Restrepo did at the University of Miami.
Yeah, I just don't understand how, and maybe they're not giving the whole picture of it, but I can't understand how a young man is highly productive at a university, a big university, a major university, playing top talent. He is consistent, and he's going out there and he's making plays over and over again, and he's very productive. And then he runs a 4.8, but then you don't. It doesn't match to me. There had to be something else, maybe the height. I don't know, but just because he runs a 4.8 doesn't mean like, because you're watching the film and you're like, no, he's faster than this, you know? So it shouldn't. Now, will it drop him in draft? Possibly, yes, to the 5th, 6th round. But to not be drafted, I'm not truly buying into that.
Right.
I'm not, because that wouldn't scare me off to not want to draft a guy that has been highly productive.
Right. I get the 40 time. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like that's a horrible 40 time. And he's not the biggest guy. So in terms of looking at the RAS athletic score, I'm sure that he does not grade very well in that.
Yeah.
But there's something about just being a football player sometimes. Like David Long, when the Titans picked him in the 6th round in 2019, he was coming off being the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year and put up ridiculous numbers at West Virginia, but he kind of fell because he was a smaller guy at linebacker, and we've seen what he did for the Titans in the league. So I'm not, it's not apples to apples, but sometimes there are guys who, they may not test well in the underwear Olympics, but when you put them out on the football field, they just know how to make plays. And Restrepo might be that guy. You said it on the film. It doesn't look like 4.8 speed. There were multiple plays where, was he pulling away from the defense? Probably not, but it's not like when he caught the ball in open space and had to run 40 yards to the end zone that DBs were catching him within 15 yards. Like, that wasn't happening. He was still, he had good football speed. And I really don't think the 40 time is going to be as impactful as a lot of people are saying.
Not right now. It's not going to be. He's going to find his place, hopefully, and very quickly within this offense. And then as you start playing preseason games, you start to figure it out. You start to get speed and the tempo of the game, and then you start to go a little faster. For whatever reason, it just happens that way, because if you don't, then you tend to lag behind. And the guys that pick it up and are able to sort of move faster, those are guys that find themselves playing earlier more times than not. But he's a football player, and that's what they need on this team, especially in that receiver room. Outside of those, the top 2 guys, they need some guys that can come in here and be football players. And of course, Restrepo is going to get all of the attention right now, but you look at DK and you look at Isle Manor, what those guys were able to do at their respective universities, whether it was Stanford or Florida. He's a big body guy, Isle Manor. As a big body guy, plays outside. I think they should either play him across the board, get him used to the whole board and not just being on the outside, get him used to the inside as well. And then DK, he did a lot of inside in college, a whole bunch of it out of the slot. And they got to allow him to be versatile, because I think if you can be versatile within this offense, the offense runs better, because you can't cue on one person, because we're all going to be in different spots.
Yeah. With this group of receivers, it does feel like they need to be flexible. Like, you got Calvin Ridley, you got Tyler Lockett, who you feel pretty good are going to be starting wide receivers. But then beyond that, it's kind of just a big group in the middle of these young guys, and Van Jefferson and, a Bryce Oliver. And we're going to go through some of the roster math later on in the show of who can the Titans keep, because there are a lot of good options for those 6th, maybe 7th wide receiver spots, but you're not going to be able to keep everybody. So we're going to go through that in a little bit. Quickly, this is Jared's show, so I'm not trying to go after Jared, but man, does that guy know how to get a crowd riled up? Did you see this on Twitter this weekend, Derek?
Jared did text me something this weekend, but I don't think it was from Twitter, and he texted to me about, a guy getting a number. So
people have been going after Jared because he tweeted, "Why do Titans fans want Xavier Restrepo to be a star?" He's like, you have 2 other young guys who can actually run. Root for them, not Restrepo. And man, there are about 85 comments the last time I checked, and probably 50 quote tweets on that, all just saying, God forbid Titans fans want one of their own players to succeed. And we're rooting for all of the rookie wide receivers.
Oh, boy. Stillman knows how to get you riled up.
He knows how to get a crowd going.
He knows how to get them riled up.
He does. And I'm sure that he is.
Why wouldn't you want them all to do well?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want Restrepo to do well? I don't know.
I understand where Jared was coming from, is that why are we hyping up Xavier Restrepo more than these 2 draft picks that you already have?
Well, we already know why.
Yes, because Cam Ward.
Exactly.
But I think he could have worded it in a better way than why are Titans fans cheering for Xavier Restrepo? Well, he's on the team, so that would make sense. 615-737-1025. I'm sure that there will be some people on Friday when Jared returns who will be calling or texting in about that tweet, which again has gone, I wouldn't say viral, but it's gotten the attention of most of Titans Twitter over the weekend. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in for Jared Stillman today. We're going to continue talking about the young wide receivers coming up next. How much of an impact can those three rookies make in year one alongside Cam Ward? That's up next. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in today here on Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Happy Monday. This is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you have set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some answers for you. Because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
skill position players, do you think about Cam Ward's development with them at all? Just how those two can kind of factor into each other?
Yeah, anytime you get some young receivers in here and working with the quarterback, and really the whole quarterback room, they have to develop and they have to develop a rapport in here. So we're trying to get young guys in here that can develop and grow as we build this roster.
Mike Borgonzi after the draft talking about the young wide receivers that they brought in, trying to get them to grow with Cam Ward. Ward will enter his rookie season with a couple of veterans on the roster, but a lot of young guys without a lot of experience. See how that's going to work out coming up this fall. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in for Jared Stillman today. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3. The Game, the 615 Open Charity Golf Tournament benefiting Folds of Honor presented by Gary Force Accurate Hermitage Golf Course is on Thursday, May 29th. Sign up to play or sponsor at 615open.com. Diving back into the wide receivers here, D-Mace. Does feel like the Titans are kind of banking on at least one of these three guys being an instant impact kind of player, which in terms of fourth-round picks and undrafted free agents, that's rarely what you end up getting. Fourth-round guys, you see a couple hits, like Amon-Ra St. Brown is a great example.
Yes.
A couple of years ago where he came in and he was a star for the Lions and has been ever since. But it's more likely you're going to get something in between Des Fitzpatrick and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's probably where these guys end up being. But if you don't get an instant impact from one of these three guys, I really don't know where Ward's going to throw the football outside of Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett, because we talked about the tight end position with a lot of guys who there are question marks on all three of them. Van Jefferson has had a couple of tough years, and he's really the only other veteran in that bunch. Got to seem like they believe one of these guys at the very least is going to come in and immediately be a guy who can get you 500, 600 yards this season.
Well, they're going to need something because this receiver room lacks, the playmakers, plural. I think, Calvin Ridley, I believe he is a true playmaker, but they need someone outside of him. Tyler Lockett has been. I'm waiting to see what he does this year. I'm scared that the production dropped off a little bit last year. And listen, there could be contributing factors to that. He just sort of, the rookie sort of phased him out there in Seattle. So they were looking to target the rookie more than him. So was it that, or was he a declining asset or the declining player? It's yet to be seen. But I like that they brought a veteran guy in there. But outside of that, they need somebody to come in here and step up and, sort of have a year like Puka Nacua. I think his first year.
Yeah.
And he was a 5th round draft pick. And his first year, he had over 1,000, was it? He broke the rookie record.
Yes, he was a 5th round pick. And yes, he came in and immediately had 1,486 yards, 6 touchdowns.
So if we can get that, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, let's take that.
But what I brought up Puka Nacua because you don't know how you get that guy that can potentially be an elite player. You can get him in the 1st round, you can get him in the 7th round, you can get him in 4th, you get him in free agents.
Yeah.
Now, it tends to be, the first 2 or 3 rounds, that's where you're getting.
There's a higher hit rate.
But that doesn't mean that in the 3rd round or in the 4th round, you can't get a guy that, especially how offenses are being ran today. This is not old school offense, the antiquated offense. No, this is a more up-tempo, modernized offense. So a rookie can come in and put up numbers if he can play. Puka showed it. So I'm not saying that Io Manor or DK needs to have 1,400 yards, but if they can get, like you said, 500-700 yards, and I'm talking a piece,
right?
That helps the development of your quarterback. That tells me that the young quarterback has trust in you, that he's throwing you the ball.
I think you need one of these rookies to, and maybe not the touchdown numbers because NWI went on a run, but replace NWI's production from last year. And I think that would be good enough for their rookie season. Go out there and at the very least beat NWI, and that will help Cam Ward out. Anything more than that would be great, obviously.
And you're talking about the touchdowns combined for both DK and Alman.
Right.
'Cause I
Yeah.
think, what he had 9 last
Yeah.
year.
I don't know if you're going to get 9 touchdowns out of one of them,
yes,
but
together.
you could maybe get the yards out of one of them
Yes.
from NWI, because Tyler Lockett, like you said, there's been a decline
Yes.
in his production over the last couple of years, and maybe part of that is not playing with Russell Wilson anymore. But I think you can attribute a lot of it to, as you age, usually the production starts to dip. But with Calvin Ridley, you've probably got a mid to low end wide receiver 1. I'd put him in the 16 to 20 range. Lockett's probably a wide receiver 3 at this point.
Yes.
You got to hope that one of these young guys can be a wide receiver 2 eventually. Or else you're probably going to have to use a first or a second round pick on a wide receiver. And the Titans' history of doing that over the past
hadn't been good.
10 years has not gone so well. So not sure if they're going to be able to make that work. But if I had to pick one that I think is going to make an impact, it would be Iamaner. I think you just look at what he did at Stanford and what was not a very good program, and he still was able to elevate his play. Everyone points at the Colorado game a couple years ago when he put up almost 300 yards on Travis Hunter. But I think he has the traits and the tools that you look for in terms of a guy who could come in and immediately make an impact. He's big. He's fast. He makes the contested catches. I think Iamaner would be the guy that I look at and say, that's a guy who could be more plug and play. Whereas DK, yeah, he's got the speed, but maybe needs a little bit more polish when it comes to his route running and how to attack NFL defenses.
Yeah, both of these guys are going to have to develop, if they want to be a big part of this offense. There's not outside of those two guys. And I'm not as I'm concerned from this standpoint with Tyler Lockett, and I get to the other guys. I'm concerned from this standpoint, not because I could see if he had injuries, I would have vehemently been opposed to them bringing in, but that's hadn't been his case. So what I feel good about is that he doesn't come with a history of injuries. What I am concerned about, like I said, was the production because of the rookie, or was it because they saw him slowing down? Either way, I think he gives Cam Ward a viable option. He gives Cam Ward another leader out there on the field that could help him, through whatever he's going through. Because, Tyler's been through it with the quarterbacks that he's had up in Seattle, where, Geno Smith wasn't always a starter. So once he got there, he had to work through his thing to get to where he's at now. So he's been through it. So, but looking at the other two guys, Iamaner in particular, he has an opportunity to be what Gabe Davis was in Buffalo.
I think that's a good comparison.
He has that opportunity. Why do I say that? He's sort of the frame, body 6'2". I know his time in the 40 said he was fast, but if you watch him on film, he's not. He doesn't look. He looks like about a 4'5" guy.
Yeah,
4'5",
he was
5'4",
what
6".
4'4" at the combine,
he doesn't
or something
look
like that.
a 4'4" guy. He looks more like that 4'5" But what he does is he plays with his body. He plays big. He's not going to outrun too many people. Now he can position himself to get on top of the defensive back and beat him that way. But he's not going to every play just flat out outrun somebody, because he doesn't possess that type of speed. But what he does possess that the Titans do need in his offense, he possesses the big body. You look at Ridley's 6'6'1", but it's a slim 6'6'1". He's not like a big body AJ Brown.
He's not going to go moss somebody.
Exactly, absolutely. He doesn't have that brute strength like AJ would show at games. I think Iamaner possesses that. Not to say he will get there, but he possesses the ability to be a big body receiver with okay speed. But because of his size, he could position you like a basketball player on some of these jump balls or some of these back shoulder plays that they're going to employ in the game a lot, because Cam, he either throws these quick passes or he likes throwing the back shoulder. So to me, I think he's going to be the guy that may have the bigger impact early on, because they don't have him on their roster.
It's a very good point. And one thing I did like, and we'll get more into
Or
this.
they didn't have him, but they have him now.
Yes, yeah, they didn't have a player like,
Like
him
him, yeah.
before the draft, and I think he does fit in well. I think they said they're starting him at the X.
Yes.
DK is going to start at the Z, but he'll work into the slot too. And then Restrepo obviously is mostly a slot guy. One thing I did like from rookie minicamp, and we'll talk more about this when we talk about Cam Ward later in the show, but there were reports about one rep where Iamaner either ran the wrong route or kind of messed up his route a little bit, and Cam Ward pulled him back. They talked about it. They ran it again. They hit it the second time. I like to see that because, Jared had talked about, is Cam Ward going to be more buddy-buddy with Restrepo and maybe lose out on some of these reps with the other new guys? And it seems like he's already kind of taken on that leadership role with Alec Iamaner to calling him back, saying, hey, let's get this right. Let's run it again. And they got it the second time. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to chime in, you can text or call our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. When we come back, we're going to do some roster math on the wide receivers. We're going to, generously estimate the Titans keep 7. There are a couple of locks, but a lot of tough decisions to make when it comes to the wide receiver position. We'll talk about it next. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in for Jared Stillman today. Stillman & Company, 1025-1063 The Game. Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House, conveniently located at Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy beer, food, music, and fun at Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, where it's Oktoberfest every day. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 at Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in for Jared Stillman today and tomorrow here on Stillman and Company from 3 to 6. Glad to have you with us. Make sure if you want to join the conversation, you can text or call 615-737-1025. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. D-Mace, we've spent most of the first hour on wide receivers. Let's talk some wide receiver roster math. The Titans, typically it's 6 or 7 wide receivers that you're going to keep. I'm going to generously say they're going to keep 7 just because this room, there are 12 guys in there. And I've kind of split it up into 3 groups. You've got 4 locks. Calvin Ridley's making the roster. Tyler Lockett's making the roster. And barring a Dez Fitzpatrick-like camp, I think Iamaner and DK are both going to make the roster. You're not cutting a 4th-round pick typically before their first season. So there's 4. I've got long shots of Mason Kinsey and Colton Dowell. I don't think they're making the roster. Maybe you stash one of them on the practice squad. You keep Kinsey there as an emergency returner. But I think, and that is knowing that Mason Kinsey is like a cockroach. You can't get rid of him. But I doubt that they're going to be on the roster. So that leaves you with 6 receivers in the middle for probably 3 spots, maybe 2. Van Jefferson, Xavier Restrepo, Treylon Burks, Bryce Oliver, Jaquan Jackson, and James Prochet. I think Jaquan Jackson was very close to the long shots group too. I don't think he's making the roster. And
that's unfortunate. This is a second-year player that it just never seemed to, for whatever reason. I thought he was a good player. Couldn't see the field. He saw the field a little bit. Then he started to, they put him back there as a punt returner,
right?
Fumbles, so that ended up putting him back behind a lot of other guys. And then it came to a point where he didn't even dress for the games. He was inactive. So, yeah, this is going to be but I think this is what you need for this receiving room. A receiving room that doesn't have many catches, doesn't have much experience outside the top 2 guys. You need a room full of competition because some of these are the guys that, at least for the next 2 to 3 years are going to be, instrumental to the development of the quarterback.
Yeah.
So you need to find out, which one of these guys you're going to keep. And it should be a battle. I mean, when you look at, Mason Kinsey, who's been here, he's been through it before. And now he has to prove himself once again. Bryce Oliver, who I liked last season toward the end, he got some time and he looked really good. So, Colton Dowell spent the year injured. So he's going to have to prove something this upcoming season or this upcoming training camp. But all in all, I think these guys, not only are they fighting for a wide receiver spot, I think they're fighting, just for a spot in general, because they can keep another wide receiver just because he plays more special teams. And they don't look at him as we're going to throw him and he's going to play any at wide receiver for us in a game. He's strictly our special teams guy, whether that's punt return, kickoff return, gunner, whatever. It's just special teams. So there is a guy that could potentially, be that guy where, we were going to keep 6, but now we're going to keep 7 because we like that guy. And he is valuable to what we want to do from a special team standpoint. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they work this all out. But I think going in, the top 3 guys who I believe because I'm not looking at Treylon Burks like that anymore. And it's disappointing to me because I think he has a lot of talent. But there's something there that should be there that isn't there, if that makes sense. That probably doesn't, but it's just like,
I get what you're saying.
And it's like, but he hasn't put it all together. Now, a lot of it hasn't been his fault. Injury, I get it, but yet and still, when you have been on the field, you haven't been that explosive player that they wanted you to be. So I think I would almost put Treylon Burks to the side for a minute because he could be a trade piece as well. Moving forward, but I put him on the side. But the other guys, I think they have this is going to be a really good battle in camp. Just watch it. Guys that because we really hadn't been able to see Colton Dowell yet.
Right.
Guys that they drafted last year that we weren't able to see. We're going to be able to see them this year. We're going to be able to see Oliver Miller, Bryce Miller, Bryce Oliver, excuse me. I said Oliver Miller, basketball guy. Bryce Oliver, you're going to see him another year in his offense. And he looked good last year. Toward the end, how is he going to look this year? He might even look a lot better. So I've seen situations like this when guys come back having a full year in the offense and they come back the next year and their whole just makeup is improved and they're much better than they were the previous year.
Yeah, I think you've got a couple of groups within that group. And I think you're right. I think you kind of put Burks to the side. I think he's in kind of Caleb Farley's spot of last year where it's like, you don't expect anything of him, but they're going to give him an opportunity in training camp to earn a spot on the roster. And if he goes out there and shows that the potential that everybody knows he does have, that he can actually live up to it a little bit, then sure, there's a spot for him on this roster. But I think it's going to be an uphill battle for him. I think Van Jefferson probably makes the team. Just, you need some experience.
Yeah, but it's going to be hard for him. When you start to become a journeyman, and hell, listen, if you can stay in this league 15, 20 years by being a journeyman, the hell with it, be a journeyman. But it's hard because once you've been either released, cut, or whatever, they didn't re-sign you. Once you've accumulated a few teams, it's hard. It gets harder and harder for you to sort of break through that ice.
Yeah.
To become like, now I'm a big fixture in what they're doing from an offensive standpoint. I think Van Jefferson's a good player, but because this would be his third or fourth stop, I believe.
Yeah, he was Rams was where he
started.
That was his most productive stop. He was with the Falcons for a while. Blanking on where else he was. Was that it?
Last year he may have been. This may be his third team. So, but either way,
the Steelers.
So
he was also on the Steelers.
Yeah. So when you start to become a guy, sort of this journeyman guy in a sense, it's hard for teams to it's hard for you to sort of break through to become a staple or standard or an everyday player within what they want to do.
Yeah, you look back, 2021, the Super Bowl season for the Rams. He had 50 catches for 800 yards and 6 touchdowns. Since then, he does not have a single season over 400 yards receiving.
And he's been hurt too.
Right. So. He only played 5 games in 2023, 12 in 2020. He was traded. So he did play 17 games in 2023.
That was the 2022. He was hurt.
Right. Yeah. He only played 11 games there. So we'll see with Van Jefferson. I tend to lean that he has a spot on this roster just because, if you let's say you go Ridley, Lockett, Iamaner, DK, Restrepo, Oliver, and Prochet, you've only really got 3 guys with more than a handful of NFL games under their belt.
Yeah.
I think Van Jefferson, just in terms of having a veteran on the roster, makes sense. I like Bryce Oliver to make the team too. And then I think it really does come down to James Prochet and Xavier Restrepo. I think Prochet, if he is your punt returner, then you might have to cut Restrepo and just hope he makes it back to your practice squad.
Yeah, that could be a solution right there.
I think wide receiver is going to be the position that everyone's focused on outside the obvious of Cam Ward when training camp rolls around in July. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. When we come back, we're going to dive into college football a little bit. Reports this weekend of a possible change in the college football playoff. Shocker, they're looking to expand it to 16 teams. We'll talk about that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason, in for Jared Stillman today. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3. The Game. We are presented by Southern Bank of Tennessee, your bank for small business. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today and tomorrow from 3 to 6. We're broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Spent the whole first hour looking at a little bit of the reaction from rookie minicamp. Titans getting their first look at their new draft class and undrafted free agents over at St. Thomas Sports Park this weekend. We'll come back to the Titans in the 5 o'clock hour, but first let's dive into some college football here, Derek. There is momentum behind a change of the college football playoff from 12 teams to 16. Actually, I think they're already going to 14 next year or the year after that. But a 16-team college football playoff bracket is gaining support in the Big Ten and SEC, as reported by Ross Dellinger of Yahoo on Friday. So the way this would work, the SEC and the Big Ten would get 4 automatic bids. The ACC and the Big 12 would each get 2. There would be 1 automatic group of 5, group of 6 bid, and then 3 at-large bids. And I believe in this format, instead of conference championships, if I'm gathering this correctly, there would not be Big Ten SEC championship games, but there would be play-in games between the 3 and 6 seed in the SEC and the 4 and 5 seed. The winners get the automatic bids. The losers would have to get the at-large bids. So I don't get why they're messing with it so much. I thought last year went pretty good outside of maybe you need to seed the field 1 through 12 and not give the auto buys to Boise State and Arizona State. But I thought it went pretty well. But it seems like they're going to just keep on expanding this because guess what? More games, more TV broadcasts, more money, and that's always going to be the way it goes.
Of course, if it's going to bring them more money, then by golly, let's do it. And frankly, this is what the people want. It's not like people don't want it. It's not like the powers that be are stuffing this down people's throat. No, this is what people want. They want to see an expanded. Now that they've sort of ventured in that water, because at first no one wanted to sort of get out of the kiddie pool. Let's stay with 4, and let's not. Everybody doesn't deserve to be in. I get it. But then once they expanded and they got a little bigger pool, they started to think like, okay, I like this, but my team ain't in. So we need to make it bigger. So what do? They made it a little bit bigger. Everybody is in agreement with it. Why? Because you want your team to have an opportunity to win a national championship.
That is a very good point. And I think for us too, I know you're a Michigan State guy. Yes. I'm a Virginia Tech guy. In the 14 playoff, I know Michigan State did make it once. They made the 14 playoff once. But in the 14 playoff, there was a very small chance of either of our teams getting in.
Yes.
For the Hokies, it's still very slim, but a 16-team playoff would at least give them a chance with 2 automatic bids going to the ACC. And I know I'm saying that I wouldn't be in favor of this now, but just like the rest of America, I'm not going to complain about more football. And like you said, more teams, more fan bases are going to be involved later on in the season because in this scenario where the 3 and 6 teams are playing in for an auto bid, that means the 6th best team in the Big Ten and the SEC would get to play a football game for a spot in the college football playoff. So last year, Iowa would have gotten a chance at a play-in game into the college football playoff at 6-3 and 8-5 overall. 6-3 in the conference, 8-5 overall. They would have played Penn State, and Ohio State, the eventual national champion, would have played Illinois.
So instead of with this new format, and it hadn't been implemented yet.
This hasn't been agreed upon. It said there is momentum
growing toward that being the case. So in this, what they want to be a new format, there would be the only automatic bid would go to who?
So the automatic bid. So the SEC and the Big Ten would each get 4.
4 automatic bids.
The top 2 teams in the SEC and Big Ten would automatically be in.
And then the other 2 would have to play. It'd be a
yes. So 3 through 6 in the SEC and the Big Ten would play games, kind of like the NBA play-in tournament to get in. So like last year in the SEC, Texas and Georgia, who obviously played in the SEC championship, they both would be in automatically. Tennessee would have played Texas A&M,
Mhm.
Alabama would have played South Carolina, and the winners of those games
Get
would have
in.
gotten in. The losers, I don't believe, would be out, but they would have to win. Like, they would have to be chosen as one of the 3 at-large bids.
Okay. All right. So they still have an opportunity.
Yes.
And listen, that's all they want. That is all these presidents, these fan bases, these ADs and coaches. That's all they want, is an opportunity to get in. And if you expand the field, the opportunity grows. Especially, and listen, let's make no qualms about this. We'll try that. This is about the Big Ten and the SEC. That's what it's about. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It has nothing to do with, MTSU may get in or this. No, it has nothing to do. It'd be great if they got in. It's more power to them. It's great for the smaller schools. But this is about the Big Ten and the SEC. How many teams can we get in? And how can we make more money off these teams when they're playing in these playing games? Because essentially the playing games may be better than some of the other games.
Yes, and you're guaranteeing 4 spots for both those conferences.
Yes.
And I think it's pretty safe to say the 3 at-large bids are going to be some combination of Big Ten and SEC
Of course.
teams. Like, you're not the 3rd best ACC team usually isn't as good as the 5th best SEC team. In most years.
Yeah, most years.
That'll change year to year, but for the most part, I guess Miami
I think Dabo would beg the difference.
last year, like, Miami was the 3rd best
yes.
ACC team, and South Carolina was the 5th best SEC team. So it would have been, I think there's a conversation to be had there.
Yeah.
But I'm not in favor of this in principle, but it's going to happen eventually. It's going to get to 16 teams. So,
Yeah, and don't even listen. I don't know because you get to 16 and you say, okay, we're done. But are you really done?
Eventually,
that's why that's why it's like, okay, 16. If they do get up to 16, then okay, fine, let it be. But I don't think people will complain too much about, right now is at 12. Eventually they're going to try to get it up to 14 or either bypass the 14 and get to 16. And that may just be it, because obviously, the more football is great, but you don't want to dilute the product either, as far as playoffs.
They got to play 4 extra games at that point. And if you're playing one of the play-in games, you might have to play 5 if you make it all the way to the championship.
Well, yeah, that sort of leads me into another sort of conversation that we can have on another one of these days, because you're adding essentially, you are a pro league.
It would be an NFL season.
Yeah.
Because you'd play the 12. And it does seem like, as one of our texters says on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, sounds like championship games are going to ultimately go away. I think that the play-in games would replace the championship games.
It would have to.
But you're still playing 16 games if you go to the championship, your 12 regular season games, and then you'd have to win 4 playoff games to win a championship.
You're the pro league, man. That's essentially what it is. And see, here's the part that when Coach Saban says what he says, it falls on deaf ears, because y'all are making decisions not thinking about these athletes and how much wear and tear it puts on their body. Y'all just making decisions, without any consultation, like from the other side, without any say from the other side, because why? They have nobody to represent.
Yeah, there's no players association.
They have nobody to represent them. So if you can add game on top of game on top of game, as long as the networks are paying for it, you can add as many as you want, especially playoff. If you want to open up the field more, you can, if you want to.
Everything about college football right now, it's just, and it's oversaid, but it's the wild, wild west. It's like NIL, no rules, transfer portal, no rules. And it seems like expansion of the playoff, we might get to 32. They might just say, let's do the FCS model and let's go a 32 team bracket and play 5 games to win a championship.
Hey, don't think they haven't thought about that.
I'm sure it'll get there eventually. We'll keep talking about this on the other side. We'll also get to your phones. We see you waiting there. 615-737-1025. We'd love to hear from you. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason, filling in for Jared Stillman today here on Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3. The Game. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today and tomorrow. Jared on vacation this week, so a little bit of a reworked schedule, especially here in the afternoons. It'll be me and D-Mace today and tomorrow from 3 to 6. Then Joe Rexroad, Paul Kaharski on Wednesday from 3 to 6. Then I'll be back on Thursday with Adam Vingan. So it should be a fun week. Jared will be back on Friday. We're talking college football playoff right now. Rumors over the weekend, reports over the weekend that there is momentum building, at least among the SEC and the Big Ten, towards a 16-team playoff. Let's get to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Craig says, as a Notre Dame fan, I'm good with 3 at-large bids. We will get one of those most years. 3 at-large bids does seem like a small number, and I know that a lot of the top 10 teams in the country are going to go in through the auto bids, through the SEC and the Big Ten. So maybe he does make a good point that as long as Notre Dame is a top 12 team most years, they're probably going to secure one of those 3 at-large bids. But if you're unable to get into those top 4 spots in the SEC or the Big Ten or top 2 in the other 2 major conferences, it's going to be very tough to sneak in as an at-large bid with only 3 of them in this new proposed model.
Yeah, it would be. So, Notre Dame on most years, as you talked about, this is a team that probably over the last, 3-4 years, they've lost on average, 2 games, somewhere around there.
Yeah, they don't lose very often.
They don't lose often. So that would automatically put them in because they're not in a conference. But then you start to look at other teams. What will the Pac, whatever it is, will they get a team out of there?
Right. The Pac-12 is coming back.
Yeah, it's coming back. But I mean, how? Even with the teams that they're going to add, and it's not Midwest teams, but
Mountain West
teams. How will they look at that conference now that it doesn't have those powerhouse teams anymore? They have teams, good teams, but they don't come with the cachet that they used to come with, meaning the Pac-12. So they may only get one. And that's not even an automatic bid.
I think they would be thrown into the extra automatic bid along with, Conference USA, the American, the MAC. And, some of those conferences, it says, oh yeah, there's an auto bid for the group of 5 or group of 6, but some of those conferences are never going to have a team that's good enough to get in. Yeah. I think you're pretty much exclusively looking at what would, I guess, be the Pac-12 Mountain West with some of those teams like Oregon State, Washington State, Boise State. And then the American usually has a team or 2 that's decent, Tulane or Cincinnati or Memphis or something like that. But it'll be interesting for sure if they do end up making this model. Mike and Franklin on our text line says the FCS is actually only 24 teams, not 32. I said 32. But maybe 24 is the next step for the college football playoff.
Don't believe they hadn't thought about it because, you just want to see how far you can sort of stretch that cord out before it snaps, and right now it hadn't even gotten any attention on it yet.
I mean, they're trying to expand the NCAA basketball tournament, which
exactly.
I think 64 is perfect, but I'm fine with 68. You have the first 4. That's fine. But we got 14 SEC teams in last year. Do we really need the 15th SEC team
that's what
the tournament?
Yep, that's what the SEC wants, and what they want, they get eventually, But listen, if it brings eyes to the television, it makes money, they're going to do it regardless of what, could be the potential negative to come out of it. There's not much because people clamor for football. They come from basketball as well, but people clamor for football, whether it's the NFL or college. You may have more that clamor for college football than anything. So
especially around here.
Exactly. So you can never feed them too much. It's just like a garbage disposal, just a bottomless pit.
Right. We sit here right now saying,
and we all are like that.
We sit here right now saying, oh, they're just going to keep expanding. But guess what? We will be on our couch watching every single one of those games. So
it's another day we skip work.
Right. They know that they can do it. And we mentioned how just unregulated college football is right now. And I know that the president has put Nick Saban as the chairman on this new college football committee or college sports committee. And I don't know if that's going to go anywhere. I think that within maybe not 5 years, but within 10 years, I think the SEC, the Big Ten, they're going to split off and just become their own super league that's kind of a minors to the NFL. Like the SEC, the Big Ten, and they'll bring along a couple of their other friends like Florida State and Clemson and Miami. And they're gonna all just be a 40-team super league where they can pay the players whatever they want, and then they'll get drafted from there to the NFL.
Yeah, well, you saw it all coming. That's why, teams hightailed it out of their respective divisions. Conferences, whether it was A&M, whether it was Texas, then you look at what UCLA, SC, all those other conferences did, Oregon, all those guys, they left quickly. They were like, we're reading the tea leaves and it doesn't look good for our conferences. So we need to go join the super league.
You got to get in early.
Yeah, you got to get in early because if you don't, then look at Florida State. They're trying to get out of theirs, but they signed a contract. Well, the conference signed a contract and it's hard for them to get out of.
Right. If they left, I think they would have to pay a very significant fine and they wouldn't be able to get any TV money from the SEC or wherever they would go after that. The only schools that can really do that is like SMU going to the ACC. They're not getting TV money for 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years.
It really don't matter.
But they have so many rich oil tycoons down there that they're just like, we don't need your TV money. We'll
be all right. We'll be all right.
And they just announced a home and home with LSU today, coming up. I think it's like 29 and 30. But SMU is one of the few schools with all that private money that they can do that. But Florida State and Clemson, not quite there yet.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to wait or find a way to legally get out of what seems to be an ironclad contract that they have with the network. But teams are reading the tea leaves, and they understood that we better jump on one of these boats right now, either the Big Ten or the SEC, because if not, we're going to be left out. Now, you still got the Big 12 just sitting there, but nobody's mistaking the Big 12 for the Big 10 or the SEC. That's like the Big 12's like the cousin.
Yes.
It's not even a little brother. It's the cousin, as well as the ACC.
It does feel like you've got, like, if you want to put it in baseball terms, like there's the NFL, SEC, Big 10 is AAA, and then the Big 12 and the ACC is AA. Exactly. Like it's a level lower in terms of competition.
I mean, listen, they got great talent there at those respective conferences. But listen, don't make no mistake, when you start pairing up the ACC and the Big 12 to the SEC and the Big 10, it's not, after a while, it's just not even a comparison after a few teams, So, the landscape of college is changing. It's going to be forever changing. What they're doing as far as the playoffs and how they're trying to expand that. What they're doing with the NIL and with how they're trying to rein it all back in. So this is something that is going to be topic of discussion for probably the next decade if they don't, really get this right, because ultimately it's headed to where, and this is only my belief, I think it's headed to a point where there's going to be a separation with athletics and academics, like a distinct separation, like meaning you can play for my university. You don't have to go to my university. Yeah. As long as you went in, you on contract.
It's going to be a separate business.
Absolutely. You can play for my university. You don't have to go to my university. You can play for my university.
Yep. You just put the colors on. You don't have to go to class.
Yeah.
As the wise Cardell Jones once said, I didn't come here to play school. Quickly.
He never lied.
Quickly before we move on, we're going to talk a little bit about Derek Carr in the next segment. I did want to mention we do have 2 new schedule updates from the NFL. We're going to see some of these slowly trickle out ahead of, I think it's Wednesday at 7 is when the full schedule is released. Week 16, Saturday on Fox. Eagles Commanders, NFC Championship rematch in Washington, followed by Packers at Bears, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams. So that is Saturday, December 20th on Fox. So still no Titans news yet when it comes to the schedule. We'll see how many primetime games.
So no news is good news, right?
I guess so. So I guess at this point it means not a Saturday game. You're
Yeah.
not opening the season. They didn't play the Eagles anyway, so that was impossible.
Who was the Eagles
And the Cowboys
Cowboys.
to
I
open
thought
the
it was
season.
Eagles in Kansas City. I told you I was wrong.
So Dallas at Philadelphia to open the
Yeah,
season.
no news is noon news. That's what that
Yes.
means for the Titans.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess the conversation should less be how many primetime games did the Titans have? How many non-noon games will the Titans have? I think it was 2 last year.
Whew.
I think they played the Chargers at 3, and then they had the Miami Monday night game, and
So they-
every other game was at noon.
So they became a staple of 12 o'clock, huh? Like you
Became-
knew what you're gonna watch at 12 o'clock.
Yes,
Titans.
you can set your clock to it.
Exactly, every Sunday.
So we'll see if any news comes out over the next day or two before the full schedule release on Wednesday at 7 p.m. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. When we come back, Derek Carr retired over the weekend, and that leaves a little bit of a void in New Orleans. Could that impact the Titans quarterback room? We'll talk about it next. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason, in for Jared Stillman. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
How did he come to this decision?
Yeah, Hannah, really for the last 5 to 6 weeks, the Saints and Derek Carr have been trying to figure out what's best and how to proceed with this shoulder issue, which tests revealed, as the Saints just said, a labral tear and degenerative damage to his rotator cuff, potentially. So these are major issues. You imagine trying to throw on that. So really before then, the feeling was like, hey, we restructured his contract. We can move forward with Derek Carr, even though there was some talk about a potential trade at one point that never happened. So it seemed at one point in the offseason he was going to be the quarterback in 2025. So really when he started throwing again, then he felt the issue, talked to the Saints, reported it. They tried to shake this out. You know, I think the Saints in a perfect world hoped that he could maybe rehab to health. It just seems like that was not in the cards. So after 11 seasons, he is retired.
That was Jeremy Fowler on ESPN talking about Derek Carr's decision to retire after 11 NFL seasons with the Raiders and the Saints. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason here on Stillman and Company, filling in for Jared Stillman today and tomorrow. Could the New Orleans Saints be a possible landing spot for Will Levis as he kind of finds himself as the odd man out after the Titans draft Cam Ward #1 overall? I do want to mention the Titans did just tweet out a video of the first day with the rookies integrating with the veterans. We got to see a video of Cam Ward throwing a pass to Mason Kinsey and Will Levis throwing a pass to Gunnar Helm. So the quarterback battle is underway over at St. Thomas Sports Park. Before we get into the Levis of this, Derek, I want to get your thoughts on two things. First, as a former player, Derek Carr, I know he's made a lot of money in his career, but he had $30 million guaranteed this year and just walked away. He probably could have just gotten the surgery on his shoulder and sat out this season and collected $30 million. Is that something that you think players do to just give the money back to the team instead of saying, you know what, I'm only in the league for so long and I've got this guaranteed money sitting right in front of me. Why would I retire?
Well, one, if he does retire for medical reasons, some of that money there's a way within the contract you are rewarded, you know, because you had to retire because of
injury. A settlement of some sort.
Yeah, some sort. So I don't know how much that would be based upon this contract. I don't know.
Right.
But there will be a settlement down the line because it's not just, you know, oh, I'm retiring and you walk off. No, give me some of my money back if you're just retiring, Derek Carr. But that's not the case with him. He's retiring because obviously his health. He can't get whatever what is it, the elbow? Or
I think it's his shoulder.
Shoulder can't get it right, and you know, surgery didn't help, and he just knew that he wasn't going to be able to be the player that he wanted to be, so he retired. So they're not going to be looking to get any money back. It's all about a settlement now, injury settlement, and he kind of move on from there. So, you know, how do you players, you know, do you want to leave that money on the table? No, but you know, guys like Derek Carr seem to be the type of player that, listen, I'm not just going to take your money. You know, if I can't do it, I can't.
Yeah, just coming to work. And
he seems like that guy. He's not one of those guys that. And listen, kudos to him. You know, because some guys would say, "Man, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna have the surgery and rehab it and get my money.
I'll come in for 9 months and get treatment and rehab, and then I'll retire at the end of the season."
Absolutely. So he knew that wasn't an option for him, and so he chose to, you know, leave that money. And I'm sure, you know. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of the new collective bargaining. I'm not sure if the Saints get some of that money back because he's retired.
I would guess that he's not going to get all $30 million.
Yeah, he's not going to get it. It'll be an injury settlement.
Maybe it's like 15 or something, or 10 or 15. It's
does it count? I wonder how does it count toward their cap?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, and again, there's been a complete new. The collective bargaining is new. It's different from when I was in the league, so I don't know how they're covering that right now, but I'm sure the Saints may get some relief from that because he chose to retire because of injury. So we'll see.
Derek Carr retires after 11 seasons, leaves a little bit of a void in New Orleans. Right now, their rostered quarterbacks are Tyler Shuck, the rookie out of Louisville. They picked him 40th overall in the second round. Spencer Rattler, the former Oklahoma and South Carolina quarterback, highly touted high school recruit, might have even been the number one recruit in the nation, if I'm remembering correctly. And then Jake Haener, who we were talking during the break. Jake Haener was the Fresno State quarterback whose S2 score was off the charts during the offseason of S2 scores when everyone was talking about CJ Stroud's low one that hasn't seemed to matter. And Jake Haener's high one hasn't seemed to help him out too much since he's gotten into the league. But, and again, before we get to Levis, I have seen, and this isn't just from Twitter trolls, I've seen clips from like ESPN and Fox and CBS of people saying, well, the Saints, I bet they wish they took Shedeur Sanders now. They took a quarterback.
Yeah, they took the quarterback they wanted.
Right. They had every opportunity to take Shedeur Sanders. They took Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that storyline of, man, they wish they had Shedeur now. I'm like, well, they had the opportunity to take him. They chose a different quarterback.
Listen, I'm sure Derek Carr didn't leave them in limbo. I'm sure they knew there was a high possibility or probability that he would retire.
Right.
So they chose the player they wanted. And it was Tyler Shuck. Was it Shaw?
Shuck, I think is how it's pronounced. It doesn't look like Shuck.
It doesn't look like Shuck, but Tyler Shuck, that's who they wanted. And they got him. So, we can play that what if. We can play that. Or no, but they, like you said, they drafted the guy that they wanted. They got him.
I think the only what if you could make is if they didn't know. And I think Kellen Moore said that Derek Carr communicated well throughout this process. So I think they knew this was a high likelihood of happening heading into the draft.
Exactly.
Even if they didn't, the only change they could have made is, do you take Jackson Dart at number 9? They took Kelvin Banks, the tackle out of Texas. But if they didn't like Dart that much better than Shuck, I think that they probably did what they thought was best.
Yes.
But you still are left with a second round rookie who he's 25, 26 years old. Yeah. He was at Oregon and lost the job to Justin Herbert, I believe, his freshman season. If I'm remembering that correctly. Then he went to Texas Tech, and then he finished his career at Louisville. So he's an older rookie quarterback. Spencer Rattler, who shows flashes every once in a while, but I don't think he's proven anything that he's worthy of being a starting quarterback in this league. And then Jake Haener, who I think is at best probably a quarterback 3 right now. Could that be a landing spot for Will Levis if the Titans elect to move on from their former second-round pick?
It could be, depending on how they feel about these quarterbacks headed into camp, because I don't think anything's going to happen at this particular time within the next month or two. Well, let's just say month, because we're almost in June anyway. I don't think anything's going to happen in the month of June. I think teams like to get away. The players are gone pretty much, toward the latter part of June into July. So if there's going to be a deal made, I would be surprised if it's done before the first preseason game. I would be surprised. But then again, it can, depending on, where New Orleans is at in their evaluation of all their quarterbacks. If they feel, man, we need somebody else in here, then the door opens up not only for Will Levis, but it opens up for Kirk Cousins, that's still with the Atlanta Falcons, and Atlanta Falcons may be looking to move him. So there's still a couple other quarterbacks that may be, that are out there that could be positioning themselves to potentially be New Orleans starting quarterback. But if I'm Will Levis, as my camp goes, if I'm Will Levis, I wouldn't put a lot of energy into that. All my energy would be directed toward this team and being better. But as you start to get toward the end, then I do believe if you you're not like best you're gonna be as a third stringer, then you may need to talk to your agent as this, especially once you start playing preseason games,
right?
And if you feel okay, I'm doing, but you're not going to be starter. No matter what you do, you're not going to be the starter. I'm going to tell you that right. You're not the starter unless this kid Cam Ward just bombs out, which I don't think he's going to do. Will Levis, you're not going to be the starter.
There's just no chance that Amy Adams-Strunk lets them run Will Levis out as the week 1 starter.
Unless Cam Ward which I don't see happening, unless this thing just goes completely downhill. So if I'm him, after at least before the season start, I'm trying to maneuver myself on another team if I'm Will Levis.
And we'll find out where the Titans start their season, but they've been on the road the last 2 years, at the Saints, at the Bears the last 2 seasons. I would think it makes sense that they're at home to start this season. You are not running Will Levis out in front of that Nissan Stadium crowd in week 1. He would get booed off the field.
Oh man.
And it doesn't matter how
No,
good
they
he
would
looks.
they would boo you, the owner.
Right. Well,
It would be directly.
They would boo everything
Exactly.
if Cam Ward is out there either on the sideline with a clipboard or in his street clothes. Maybe he's the emergency third quarterback. Yeah, it's not happening. Cam Ward, barring injury or like you said, if he looks like he can't take a snap.
Yeah. If you look like you can't read defenses,
then fine. But
fine. Yeah.
And honestly, I would say it's more likely Brandon Allen would be the starter than Will Levis at that point.
It's more than likely going to be Brandon Allen, unless he just doesn't work out. So
we'll see. Will Levis, there's still some time to see if he's going to be traded somewhere, if he ends up just being released at the end of training camp. We'll talk more about some possible landing spots for Will Levis on the other side. New Orleans is an option now with Derek Carr retiring, but some other teams out there that could make sense as well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, we'd love to hear from you. Again, Jake Lyman and Derek Mason were filling in for Jared Stillman today. More coming up on the Titans quarterback situation here on Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Jake Lyman and Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow again from 3 to 6 as Jared is on vacation. He'll be back on Friday, so a little bit of a mixed up schedule. We had Chase and Big Joe on in the afternoon. Adam and Willie were on in the morning. It'll be the same schedule as today, tomorrow, and then it'll mixed up Wednesday and Thursday before Jared returns on Friday. We'd love to hear from you. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Talking about Will Levis, where he could end up. Derek Carr retiring with the Saints.
Yes.
And that was kind of the obvious question among Titans fans. Could that be a spot that he lands? I'm not so sure. First of all, I don't know if the Saints are all that interested in competing this year in the first place. I think they might have their sights set on a high draft pick next year.
Yeah.
But
they'll be trying to get done one of these quarterbacks from next year.
Right.
Next year's draft.
Because next year, although there isn't like a generational, to use the G word, generational talent.
We can't use, no, we're on Jared, so I can't
we can use it these hours, not from 11 to 2.
Exactly.
There's not a generational talent in next year's draft right now, but there's a lot of guys up there who, with a good season, could easily be the number one pick. Arch Manning is the one a lot of people talk about. Drew Aller from Penn State, Garrett Nussmeier. So Nussmeier would make sense. I believe, he's LSU, and I think his dad is the offensive coordinator for the Saints, if I'm not mistaken. So
work out perfect.
Maybe that works out. But Nevada Josh makes a good point here. Could Aaron Rodgers go to the Saints? He's still holding out on the Steelers a little bit, and maybe this Derek Carr retirement gives him a little more leverage in these negotiations and says, hey, you offered me 15 to come play for you in Pittsburgh, but I can go get 20 from the Saints. What are you going to do for me now?
Wow, man. If Aaron Rodgers did that, I don't think there's a team like this would definitely be his last year.
I think it's his last year no matter what.
He would be the most hated man ever if he's not already. Because Pittsburgh, the way it's been presented, Pittsburgh didn't get a quarterback because
they assumed Aaron Rodgers was coming.
Rodgers, yes. They've been talking through this. They understand. There seems to be this, I don't know, sort of mental agreement in a sense. I don't know. But it seems like Pittsburgh is like, hey, we got our quarterback. It's just waiting on him to come in, and Aaron Rodgers hadn't said anything to the contrary. So if he was to say, well, Pittsburgh, you know what? And he has every right to do it. But if he was to say, Pittsburgh, you know what? They're offering me $20 million over here. 25. What you gonna offer? Man, that'd be tough. Because we're doing all of this in hopes. But then people would say, you know what? You got what you deserve because you should have known what Aaron Rodgers like. You can't ask a snake to not be a snake,
And he's gone on Pat McAfee and said it's not about the money, but I'm just wondering why, sign the contract then and just get it over with. But either of those teams, I don't see those being suitors for Will Levis because with the Saints, if you do want to compete this year, there are better options out there on the market. If it is Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it would be. You mentioned Kirk Cousins as a possible guy they could trade for. Cousins could come in and immediately is an average quarterback for your team. Wesson Hermitage brings up the other point I was going to make. If you're going to trade for Will Levis, would you call Ryan Tannehill before you did that?
No, Ryan's been done. I think Ryan, not to say that he can't come back and play hell, because I've seen quarterbacks that have been retired a year and come back and be a viable backup or come in and do a great job. Look, last year, not this past season, but season before that, Joe Flacco came in and led Cleveland Browns to a playoff berth.
Yeah.
And Joe was 40 at that point, or just turned 40.
Yeah. I think he's 42
in
now.
January. Yeah. So he had just turned 40, during that run to get him in the playoffs. So it can be done. But man, it would have been 2 years now that he's been out.
Yeah, the last game he played, because he missed.
Because he missed half of the last season that he played.
Right.
At least he was in and out the lineup, more out than in.
Was it?
Because he came in.
Was it the London game? Was that the last game he started?
I think so.
because he got hurt and Malik came in and took that horrible sack at the end of the first half. I think that was it.
Yeah, because I don't think didn't he come back in? Because Will got hurt.
Will, yeah, you're right.
He
Will
came
got
back
hurt
in
and he did come back in.
Yeah,
Yes.
but he was just a shell of himself. He couldn't move, and because he was hurt himself, he couldn't move. I'm not sure if Ryan Tannehill, he would be, not to say that he wouldn't take the money and still want to play, especially for a team, but to me, it looks, you got to go to a team that can truly can compete. You know, and if you're going to New Orleans, are they truly competing next year?
It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. So why? I mean, if you want to come in and just collect the check, then okay. But if you're talking about, man, I want to find the right position or right team situation to go into where there's a playoff team ready, the Saints ain't it.
Yeah, I think it would take a perfect situation to get Ryan Tannehill back in the league.
Yes.
I think he's good. I just looked up his career earnings. I think he's good with his $196 million in career earnings.
He's not looking to get put on his back for like the 20th or 40th time.
Yeah, he's good on his boat with his wife, kids, and a Celsius.
Exactly.
And he will just enjoy retirement.
Yeah, so so guys like Will Levis, Kirk Cousins, and there may be another guy or two out there. You know, that New Orleans job. I don't think New Orleans is in a panic because of what you mentioned, I believe, because I think they're positioning themselves for next year.
Yes.
So this is not like having Derek Carr. That's great. You know, were we going to be this elite team? No, even with Derek Carr, we are going to be probably a subpar team. So without him, the fan base knows what they're getting this year. Ownership knows what they're getting.
Right.
So we're not in a rush to go out and, we got to make a trade. We're going to let these three guys sort of play it out. And if neither one of them can take initiative and take the job, then okay, now we got to make a trade for somebody. But if somebody plays well enough just to be a seat warmer,
you feel good just putting them on the field.
Exactly. Then that's what they would rather do.
And I might spontaneously combust for saying
Will Levis still may be here.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I don't think the Saints are a good fit. And again, I might combust from saying this on this show, but the Saints were in the worst cap situation in the entire league, and it seems like it's come back to bite them. That is not a very competitive roster that they've fielded over there. So not sure they're going to be very good. I've said it for a couple of months now. I think the best fit for Will Levis would be Jacksonville. And who knows if they'll make that trade in division. I think the Titans would if they could get a fifth or a sixth back for him. Reunite him with Liam Cohen, and he's not competing. He is going to be the backup behind Trevor Lawrence, but could be a reclamation project for the Jaguars in Will Levis. Now, Titans fans would forever be, mad at themselves if Will Levis did turn into something in Jacksonville.
Oh, well, I tell you, if he goes to Jacksonville, he's going to play. He is going to play because Trevor Lawrence is known to get hurt. He's going to miss some games.
Yeah.
You know, so he's going to play. How well he does when he plays, I don't know. We may get a glimpse of it here while he's going through camp. Man, that he has improved as a quarterback.
If the Titans traded Will Levis to Jacksonville and he came back here and Trevor Lawrence was out and Levis beat Cam Ward.
Well, whatchamacallit already beat us. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Malik Willis
came back and already.
But I feel like it's different. Malik never had the hype that Will Levis had. Like Malik Willis, there was never a time when everybody was like,
hey,
he's the guy.
Don't tell Titans fan that when they drafted him, boy.
When they drafted him, yes. But there was never a season where we went into it saying Malik Willis, that's the guy.
Yes.
Will Levis had that. He had all the hype. He had the Mayo commercials. If he came back here and beat the Titans as a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think a lot of people would just give up their Titans fandom. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Enough about the backup quarterback. We're going to talk about the starting quarterback coming up next in our final hour of the show. Cam Ward made his first impression on Titans fans this weekend in rookie minicamp. What did we see from the small glimpses that we did get to watch from the weekend? We'll talk about that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final hour on this Monday, Stillman and Company, presented by the Southern Bank of Tennessee, your bank for small business. Jake Lyman and Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today and tomorrow. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Final hour, we just talked a little bit about Will Levis and where he could end up if the Titans do elect to move on, but we got the first look at the Titans' new starting quarterback this weekend in Cam Ward. Rookie minicamp this weekend, and we've said it throughout the show, D-Mace, that you're not getting a whole lot out of rookie minicamp. It was a clip here, a clip there. We got a few, overall takeaways from some of the reporters who were out there. I know TD put together a thread. It seems like it was all positive reviews from Cam Ward over the weekend in his first experience wearing the two-tone blue. People raved about the quick release from him. It seemed like he already had stepped into a leadership role. Seems like in terms of what you can do in rookie minicamp, which isn't much, it seemed like Cam Ward checked most of the boxes.
Yeah, he's coming in and he's learning the offense. He's coming in and it's easier, I think, for him to come in amongst the rookies. That's why they have a rookie minicamp without the veterans, because you come in, and if you come in with just the veterans, you feel intimidated because these are guys that you've been watching, and older guys, and so you feel a bit intimidated. Even the first round, the first pick in the draft, he's going to come in, amongst all those veterans somewhat, just sort of like trying to find his way. So you bring him in with the rookies and allow that leadership to sort of, work its way through the rookies first. And then once the veterans come in, then you can see how he proceeds and see if that same style still works. But from what we're hearing, he's showing leadership, which I don't think anyone thought he wouldn't. He's being assertive. If something needs to be ran again, as you talked about in the opening of the show. He's going to say, let's do it over again. So, those are the things you want to see. But I think Brian Callahan said it best, I think, over this weekend. Said, listen, he's just trying to learn the playbook right now. We're not looking for him to be some leader. We're not looking at him to go out here and yell. And no. He has to worry about himself first, because if you ain't got yourself right, you can't try to lead 51 other grown men. If you ain't get your job done, because they will call you out quickly. Like, you need to get your stuff straight before you try to lead us. Okay. So, and that's what Brian Callahan, he needs to worry about himself now, right now, learning the playbook, getting used to the guys, and kind of allowing your leadership to grow from that. Because the way you led in college is not going to be the same way you lead here in the National Football League. It's going to have to change and evolve, because now you're dealing with grown men with kids. So you got to evolve. This game is much different from the college game. It's still, 22 people on the field at one time, but it's a much different game than it is in college. So you got to adjust to that and allow your leadership to come from there, not from what you did in college.
That's a good point. And we've heard all of the Cam Ward stories from Miami of, he was new to that locker room, but he took it over the first week he was there. But you're right. That's 18 to 23, 24-year-olds now.
And he's still the older guy in the locker room.
He was still 22, 23 at that point, and he had been a leader at Washington State.
Exactly.
This is different. You're walking in there with, who's the oldest guy on the Titans right now?
Man, whew. Would it be I wouldn't know. It's not Calvin.
Would Zeitler maybe?
Yeah. Zeitler.
I don't know how
he's
old.
The oldest. He's the oldest.
It
has to be, it is Zeitler.
So, guy
I'm
who's
thinking about the defensive line, secondary, receivers are young, running backs, Pollard, but he's young, but got some tread on the tires, but he's still young.
Kevin Zeitler is 35. So, I would say
he may be the oldest person on the team outside of Morgan Cox. I think Morgan Cox is the oldest. Yeah.
Outside of special teams.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think defensive side of the ball. There's no one like Xavier Woods isn't that old. He's a veteran.
He's just a veteran.
But
guy, but
so
older.
You're walking. Kevin Zeitler is more than a decade older than him.
Yes.
And it's like, hey, am I going to listen to this 23-year-old coming into the locker
Yeah,
room?
he has to prove himself, and that's what Brian Callahan talked about. You know, in order to try to lead other men in this profession, you got to know your stuff first. You can't put the cart before the horse. You can't try, oh, and you're the main one that's messing up, and we're falling behind because of that. No, you're a rookie. Learn the playbook, because the faster you learn the playbook, the more comfortable you will get on this team. And the more comfortable you are, then as veteran players, we're more tend to buy into what you're doing, what you're talking about, and how you're leading, because you're doing it naturally. You're just not trying to invent something. You're not trying to be someone else. You're yourself, and you're leading based upon that. So before he comes he has to go through a lot before he becomes the leader of this team.
I'm sure you've talked about this before, but you went through this with Joe
Mhm.
Flacco,
Yeah.
being a veteran and having a rookie first-round pick come in there, and to the dismay of Titans fans, went to the AFC Championship his first season.
So it can be done.
So what did you see from Joe as he entered that room, as he tried to establish himself?
Joe did exactly what Brian Callahan talks about. Learning your stuff first. Learning that. And as you learn that, and as you learn the locker room, guys will start to follow you, because guys pick up on what you're doing. Guys are watching you. Are you in that meeting room long? Are you the first person here? Are you the last person to leave? Are you doing these things that leader? You ain't got to say a word. Are you just are you doing
Leading by
example?
example.
Exactly. Are you doing those things as a quarterback? Because typically, listen, quarterbacks are not the rah-rah person. They're not. Quarterbacks are never the rah-rah guy. It's always somebody on defense, or it's like a running back or somebody, or receiver. But it's never really the quarterback. Why? Because a quarterback, he has so much other stuff to worry about. Like, you can be the rah-rah guy over there. You can be that guy.
Yeah, Big Jeff, you take that.
You can take that. I do it every once in a while, but I gotta, this is all y'all, this is my team. There's a level of focus that I need to have. Not to say that throws you off, but there's a level of focus that I need to have. So I've never seen a quarterback come in. That's why I believe I can talk about it, because I have knowledge of it, because I experienced it. Cam Ward just need to allow it to come to him. Don't go chase it. Don't go looking for it. Let it come to you, because it will.
Yeah.
It will. It came to you when you left Incarnate Word and went to Washington State, and it came to you when you left Washington State and went to Miami. It came. The leadership is going to come with you, because it seems like he's that guy that brings it with him. So come here and let it develop here. Don't go pushing it on nobody. Just develop it. But while it's developing, learn that playbook, because that's, as a veteran guy, that's what I'm looking at. Like, do you know the playbook before you try to lead? And we're gonna follow you, like Joe. I'm gonna follow you, but do you know your playbook first?
Right.
And when I mean know your play, you know it better than me.
Yeah,
because
you know
gotta know everybody.
Every single person's job is.
Absolutely. So once guys see that, and to see the way he sort of presents himself throughout that building, that's when guys are going to start following him. It takes time to become, even while he's winning games, people are still learning to follow him. So it's going to take some time. Even if he has success, it's still going to take time.
And who knows if it's going to translate to any wins on the football field or stats, but it does seem like he has the personality that you're looking for in terms of a quarterback. We've seen both ends of the spectrum with the last two young quarterbacks. Marcus was on one end where, more reserved. He's not going to be a vocal leader. Will Levis is kind of the rah-rah guy where he's going to be in your face, has the big out there personality. Cam Ward, it feels like he's got the confidence, but also doesn't have to, in your face, like show you, hey, I'm confident. It's more of a silent confidence that he has. So I think that's what you're looking for in a quarterback. Again, who knows if it's going to translate into success on the field, but I think that's a lot of the reason why the Titans liked him, was that, silent strength that he brings.
Yeah, he brings he brings this confidence that I think the organization really is impressed with. He brings the professionalism with them that they believe in. So and they believe that every stop that he's had has been a situation where he has grown as a player, and he stepped up each time. I think all of that together is why they chose to stay at that number one spot, because they truly believe they believe he's the guy. I really do believe they in their mind, I like all of them. There's not like I think they all believe that he is the guy.
And if you turn down
Like
that
Neo.
trade package, like you kind of have to believe
He's
the
like
guy.
Neo. He's Neo right now. I mean, he's the guy. I mean, nobody else is questioning. Well, Jared may be questioning it, but he's the guy.
Right.
There's always that one guy, because even in Matrix, there was that one. He can't do it. No, what do you?
He's not the chosen one.
What do you make me think he's the chosen one? He is. So that's how the Titans are like the panel. Like, we believe in him.
You gotta operate like that. If you're gonna pick that guy number one overall and turn down all those picks the Giants offered,
oh yeah,
he's got to be the guy. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Cam Ward making his debut over at St. Thomas Sports Park over the weekend. We're recapping it and looking at the reaction to Cam Ward's first couple days on the field. We'll come back, keep talking about it. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today here on Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
And then being in a new situation, you have a familiar face in Xavier Restrepo. How much will that help you get settled in?
I don't think it'll help me get settled in. I've known him for a whole year now. It's me more, opening up to my new teammates, and, them getting a chance to know me. And so, I know him X. I already have a connection with him. I got to connect, pieces with my other guys.
That was Cam Ward after rookie minicamp on Saturday. Asked about Xavier Restrepo and his relationship with him. And I thought that was a phenomenal answer from Cam Ward. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in for Jared Stillman today on Stillman & Company. I love that answer from Cam Ward. And it may not be true that maybe he is going to, just maybe even like a subliminal, just kind of a little bias towards the guy that he knows. Maybe the ball is going to find Xavier Restrepo a little bit more. But one of the concerns that Jared's brought up with signing Xavier Restrepo is you gave him a little buddy in the lunchroom. And is he going to connect with the other teammates who actually are going to be getting impact snaps for this team this year? Seems like Cam Ward knows, hey, I already know Restrepo. I need to get to know all these other guys.
Yeah, see, that's if this is not elementary where you walk in and your buddy's there and it's like, oh, I got my buddy. Now I'm just going to hold on to my buddy, me and my buddy. It's going to be us two.
As long as you got one.
Exactly. Maybe we make some other friends, but I got my buddy. It's not elementary, man. That's not how quarterbacks work. Listen, you earn the right to be a number one receiver. You earn the right to be a quarterback's favorite target. You earn the right to be a part of the progression within the pass play. You earn that right if he throws it to you first or if he throws it to you second, depending on how the defense is playing. That's a right you earn. Just because we had a good connection in college doesn't mean all of a sudden now I'm just going to bypass everything and sort of cater to you. Now, if you're on the field and you are a part of the progression, and if you've proven, in this league that you can go out there and give me some consistency at that position, then yeah, you're going to become a part. If I can't hit him, it's not like Calvin Ridley is the first choice, but because Restrepo is out here, Xavier, I'm gonna throw it to him.
Tunnel vision.
Exactly.
On
no.
87.
That's not how this works, man. That's my first option. That's my second one.
Right.
I get back to him, or if they blitz, I know he's hot. If he knows that I'm gonna hit him. Now he better catch it, because if I throw it once, he don't catch it, I'm gonna be a little iffy to come back to him. But he's not going to go out of his way to try to throw extra footballs.
Yeah, force feed.
Exactly.
Xavier Restrepo.
He has a job to do. He understands that in Miami, Restrepo was his guy. He was his number one target. But that was at the University of Miami. Last I checked, the University of Miami isn't in the NFL. Miami Dolphins is, but not the University of Miami.
Same stadium.
Exactly. Same stadium, but not same players or coach. So he understands now that just because he was my main target there doesn't mean he's going to be the main target here. I got Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett. I got other guys that have proven they can catch the football. If you prove in this league that you can, I'm gonna get it to you. It's good that I do have a relationship with you. I know that, but I am not going to, throw away or disregard what the coaches are teaching me just to get the ball to Restrepo. Now, hey, listen, the play may break down. I may look for you now, because now I'm in this phase outside of what we're doing as an offense.
Right.
This is we're playing backyard ball. Now I make look for you.
Yeah, because you know what I want to do, and I know what you want to do.
Absolutely. But outside of that, no, I'm not trying to circumvent the system just to go to you. No, it doesn't work like that, Jared, or anybody else.
Yes, I think Cam Ward was less trying to get Xavier Restrepo on the team because he's his friend, more because he thinks he's a good football player.
Yeah, he thinks he's a good player. I don't think Cam doesn't come across as a guy. If he didn't, and listen, Restrepo, watch the tape. He's a good player.
If you watch Cam Ward's film, you're going to see a lot of Xavier Restrepo.
He's going to show up. He is a good player. That's why he was putting in the word. That's why he was vouching for him, because he's like, listen, how do you think some guys get drafted? And I'm not saying because the incoming quarterback vouch for him, but how does sometimes, because that scout over there that nobody really talks to, he really paid attention to that guy. I was like, man,
stood on the table.
Yeah, this guy, man, he's going to. It happens sometimes like that, but in this case, It was your quarterback. Why? Because as I'm watching Cam, I see him, and then Cam comes back and said, "Man, you see this guy's a good player, don't you? So don't disregard the 4.840. He's a damn good player. So we'll be able to find that out once we get to camp. But he's not going to circumvent the offense just to try to get the ball to Restrepo.
Right, and we've said low risk, high reward with Xavier Restrepo. You didn't use a draft pick on him. It's not like you had to pay him $5 million. You're getting him on a UDFA contract. If he makes the team, great. If he doesn't, maybe you get him on the practice squad. If not, who cares? It's not like you picked this guy in the second round. He is about as low risk as you can possibly get, and we'll see if that connection with Cam Ward ends up paying off.
You got a you got a really good shirt, a really good one.
Yeah,
from the Goodwill.
Right, an All-American shirt.
Yeah, a shirt that listen, this shirt it's gonna last you a long time, but you got it at a bargain price.
Right,
basically free.
Yeah, you went
for whatever reason. Maybe it was worn a little bit too much. I don't know. But for whatever reason, you got it for cheap. Not to say that I'm just making a comparison.
Yeah,
but you got a damn good player.
You know, you went to the mall and you got your Ward and your Oladejo and all those, but then you're like, hey, let's stop by Goodwill on the way home. Oh, that's a great shirt.
Great. Ooh.
Xavier Restrepo.
Okay. That can go with the suit that I just
there
bought.
We
Cam
go.
Ward.
It works. It
Exactly.
works. Hey, that could be it. It's the little undershirt that goes underneath the nice button down that I just got in Alec Ayamaner. I cannot say that name right. Alec Ayamaner. It's the one name. It's the one name I cannot get right.
It's the Ayamaner.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Quickly before we go to break, we've got a couple of texters just randomly talking about the Banana Ball game at Nissan Stadium on
X.
Yes.
The whole fiasco that was going on.
It was Cam Ward's first time in Nissan Stadium, or at least first time in front of a crowd in Nissan Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew from Dover says, D-Mace, your former teammate, the Freak, Javon Curse was out there too. He said he looks like he could still go out there and make some plays.
He probably could. Shoot. He works out for a living now.
Yes, he
stays in good shape.
He looked ripped out there.
He stays in good shape. So yeah, you can go out there. But it was what did they have it at? Was that Nissan?
It was at Nissan.
It seemed like it was packed.
Yeah, 70,000 people.
Okay. What is the deal with this, man?
It's like the circus.
Is it a baseball team?
So it is, but it's like the Globetrotters a little bit. But the games aren't decided beforehand. Like the Washington Generals can win too.
Oh, okay.
So they play the party animals, and it's like there are all these different rules. I know it's like if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out. I know that's one of the rules. It's
for who? Both teams?
Yeah. So like if the Bananas hitter hits a foul ball into the stands and a spectator catches it, you're out. And they do a bunch of TikTok dances and stuff like that. They played Rocky Top and stuff. I don't know, but yeah, 70,000 people out there at Nissan Stadium.
Like, what is the deal with these banana? What is it?
The Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, Savannah Bananas. Man, they are a walking circus, ain't it?
It is a circus. The circus came to town.
But are they a minor league team?
No, so they used to be a collegiate summer league team.
Oh, okay.
In the Coastal Plains League, and they've turned into a traveling circus. Basically,
so they play anybody.
They play baseball, and they just go around and they play the party animals. And I think there might be some other teams they're making, but who knows? But Cam Ward all 9 draft picks made their debut in Nissan Stadium on Saturday night. I saw some tweets saying they shouldn't get used to that crowd. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get to your text coming up next. Talking some Cam Ward as we get close to the end of the show here on this Monday. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason in for Jared Stillman. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason, filling in for Jared Stillman. We're with you today, also tomorrow from 3 to 6, as we mix up the schedule a little bit here on 102.5 with Jared out of town. It'll be Joe Rexroad, Paul Kaharski. That should be fun on Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 6.
Is that what you call that? Is that
But yeah,
fun?
so I won't
Your
be
idea
here.
of fun is like, oof.
I won't be here, so it'll be fun for me.
Fun to listen.
Yes, Reed, I'm sorry about that.
Reed's like, nah.
I thought I ditched Koharski years ago. And here we are.
He's back
Yes.
like Jason Voorhees.
Reunited.
It's like a fungus.
Yes, reunited on Wednesday. And then Thursday, it'll be me and Adam from 3 to 6 as D-Mace gets back with Willie Donick, I believe, closer to your guys' regular time. I think you guys are noon to 3.
Yeah, what, Friday?
Thursday,
yeah, we're noon to 3, still 3 hours.
and then back to the regular schedule on Friday,
Friday.
as Jared returns from
Jared
where
graces us with his presence.
where is Jared? Just
I don't know
random
where
place
Jared,
in the
just
world.
throw a dart, man.
Jared's
That's where Jared
in-
would be.
Yeah.
Just throw a dart. That's where he'll be.
He'll be back on Friday. Let's get to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 9055 on our text line says, to me, it's a positive that everyone in the front office is on the same page with Ward. For those who weren't here with the whole Vince Young fiasco, that's not what this team needs right now. Back in the day, Bud wanted Vince Young, Jeff Fisher wanted Matt Leinart, Floyd wanted Cutler. Owner obviously wins, and how did that end up? So it is good that everybody's on the same page, but that also means that, if Cam Ward isn't very good, that
Everybody be
everybody's
gone.
probably leaving.
Yeah, Cam Ward's not good. First, Brian will be gone.
Yeah.
And then Borgon, then Brinkert. They'll be gone. But I think this young man, I think they truly believe in him. They truly believe they got their number one quarterback, their franchise quarterback. Now, again, franchise quarterback can mean several different things. It can mean just a guy, he may not necessarily turn out to be an elite quarterback, but he's a quarterback that is winning you a bunch of games. And you are each and every year with him underneath center gives you an opportunity. Because you know that you're going to field a good team. You're going to be in the playoffs, and then from there, anything can happen. I think it's going to work. I think they feel good about him. They just got to continue to surround him with good players. And we've been talking about the wide receivers and, how they're going to play a critical role in his development. And how many of these guys out of the 9 or 10 that are here, who's going to be the top 5 or 6, on this team. So there's a lot of questions that are going to be answered pretty soon. But I think they feel good with who they drafted, Cam Ward, and I think they're starting to, the way they're talking about guys, I think they're starting to feel good about how they are positioning themselves as far as their roster. Because again, we're talking about the rookies, and this team is only going to go so far, I think, as these rookies help take them. They're going to have to, because it seems so young and the depth is not there.
Right.
They're going to have to help. Like last year's class helped. Devondre Sweat was a big help for them. Brownlee was a big help for him because he had to come in and play right away. So they gained that experience. The year before, McQuarrie was a big help for them. I think that was his rookie year or 2 years prior to that.
He was the same draft as Burks.
Yeah, so that year he was a big help. Why? Because he was a big plus because he helped contribute, to the team, especially when guys started getting hurt. So this year can't be any different. If the Titans are going to have success, I think these younger guys are going to have to be key parts of it because of the lack of depth that this team have, especially when you're talking about veteran leadership.
Right. This was a draft for the new stadium. It's like, that's when they want these guys to start hitting their primes, is 2027. That's when you hope Cam Ward is ascending as one of the top quarterbacks. You hope Femi Oladejo becomes your top edge rusher by then. I don't know if they're going to be that this year, but you hope,
you hope it's trending that way.
Right, that they take the necessary steps so that You open that new stadium in 2027
Mhm.
and you feel like, okay, this team could take the next step in the next couple of years. Speaking of which, Chase and Big Joe, I thought, had a good conversation before us about what rookie quarterback records in the Titans franchise could Cam Ward break. And I think it's good to set some reasonable expectations for your rookie quarterback. Here are the rookie quarterback records for the Titans: 3,338 yards, 19 touchdowns, 371 passing yards in one game, four passing touchdowns in one game. We talked about it on Friday. I really hope he doesn't throw 4 passing touchdowns in his first game. That doesn't seem.
Well, I mean, if he does it, I hope he continues. Like,
it doesn't seem to be a
just,
good indicator for
you know,
career success.
yeah, Marcus did it. Then
Levis did it.
And neither one. Well, Marcus did have some success.
He did.
It just wasn't prolonged success. You know, he had that one really good season, and for whatever reason, he just couldn't build on that.
It was 16 that he was. I thought 2016, there was a 10-week stretch where Marcus Mariota was playing MVP level football.
He was good.
And then he broke his ankle and he was just never the same.
No.
He was never the same after that. I feel pretty confident in saying that Cam Ward is going to throw 20 passing touchdowns this year.
Well, they're going to in theory, yeah, because the 20 touchdowns, you think like, man, that's
like a little over one a game.
Yeah, that's easy but it's hard to do, man. It is hard to do. Listen, I think there are obviously, you know, the meaning the receivers are going to help that. Brian's play calling is going to help that. I think, you know, how Cam Ward learns this offense and how quickly he learns this offense will dictate that. Now, listen, he may get 20 touchdowns. Why? Because they're down, you know, 21 points every game in the fourth quarter. So things are lax and he's throwing touchdowns. I don't want him to get over 20 touchdowns that way because they're losing more games than not. You really don't see I guess you can see some developing in there, but is it developing or is it just the defense just sort of lax because they're up so many points? But I would tend to say, based on, you know, getting that 20 touchdowns, having those records, that is a possibility. But if it doesn't happen, I still want to see development because they may go to a more run heavy team as they're developing their quarterback and play really good defense. And, you know, I think Joe, his first year, he may have had 20 touchdowns.
Let me see.
Because we were a run heavy team. I think he may have 20 touch. I know he had like 12 interceptions, something like that.
He had only 14 touchdowns his rookie year, 12 interceptions.
Yeah, 12 interceptions. Yeah. So we were a run heavy team and we played defense because we wanted to bring him on slowly while he was going to start. So it was time on task what he was doing.
Joe Flacco only had one season where he had more than 25 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
But
he
was consistent.
Yeah, but you're talking about you know, an organization prior to Lamar Jackson. They were runner, and they're still somewhat a run team, even with Lamar Jackson. They still love to run the football, but they have an explosive passing game. They can throw the football too. But football things have changed. So when you say 20 touchdowns for Cam Ward, yeah, but I don't want it to be I would rather win games and him develop than him to just throw 20 meaningless touchdowns.
I will say Mason Rudolph and Will Levis threw 22 combined last year. So if the offense is better than that, you would think he might throw 20.
If he's in the lineup for the whole season, you would think he should throw.
Right. I think a lot of it has to do with, does he stay healthy?
Exactly.
And that'll be a key to it. Kevin on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says Mariota, he threw his 4 touchdowns in the first half. Yeah, that was a fun game. And then the Titans went 2-13 the rest of that year on the way to the number 1 pick. Another texter, 8586, says, what if he throws for 3 and runs for 1? Deal. I'm in for that. If he does that in week 1.
Throw for 2 or run for 2 and run for 2.
You can get 4 total. They just can't be 4 passing touchdowns. That has not gone well.
That is outlawed
for the Titans franchise. Yeah.
I hope Calvin Ridley about to catch that 4th touchdown, drop it.
Yeah, if he throws 3, Brian Callahan, just throw out all of your passing plays for the rest of the game.
Run the football.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Last call for calls and texts. as we wrap up the show coming up next. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman today. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final segment on this Monday. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason filling in for Jared Stillman. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, 3 to 6. Same lineup as today, tomorrow. So if you tuned in didn't see the tweets and were confused as to why Chase and Big Joe were on in the afternoon and why Jared's not on, Jared's on vacation. So lineup switched up a little bit. It'll be Robbie and Rex Road 9 to noon, or excuse me, 6 to 9. Adam and Willie 9 to noon. Chase and Big Joe 12 to 3. And then D-Mace and I will wrap up the day 3 to 6
Hey,
again
reverse it out
tomorrow.
over here.
Yes.
The station is versatile.
Yes. We can move around.
Yeah, fluid.
Yes.
Fluid.
And Wednesday and Thursday, I'm telling you, if you're tuning in and you're confused now, Wednesday and Thursday are going to throw you through a loop because it gets a little more confusing. But we're going to have some fun. Jared will be back on Friday and we'll get back to the normal schedule. Wrapping up the show here. Talked a lot of football today. Big event tonight in basketball. The NBA draft lottery is tonight.
Yes,
and
it is.
it's an important one. Not as important as 2 years ago when Victor Wembanyama was up for grabs. Last year kind of felt like a dud where there wasn't really a true bona fide number one pick, but Cooper Flagg is up for grabs today. And a lot of teams are going to be vying for his services. I believe the Wizards, the Hornets, and the Jazz. Is that the three who have the best odds? So that'll be interesting.
And neither one of them are going to get it.
Well, yeah, it could be a lot of different teams.
like the Predators.
Right. Yeah. The NHL lottery, the way they did that, I like that they did it in front of everybody and like televised the balls being pulled actually. But it was funny. They had the 30-second countdown and then they're like, all right, before the last ball, we're just going to go to commercial. I'm like, well, that kind of ruins the integrity of this whole thing.
Yeah, like, that doesn't make any sense.
But here are the teams who could end up with the number one pick. Again, Utah, Washington, and Charlotte have the best odds. New Orleans right there. And I know there's rumors they might trade Zion Williamson. The last time they won the lottery was when they took him. Philly up there at a 10% chance. Brooklyn, 9%. Toronto, 7.5%. So those are the top half. San Antonio's at 6. And man, if the Spurs are able to win again and pair Wembanyama with Cooper Flagg, they've got some magic going on down there. That
man, that wouldn't be fair.
It wouldn't be fair.
That wouldn't be fair. You're bringing back reminiscence of David Robinson and what's the
Tim Duncan?
Tim Duncan.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Flagg isn't like a low post player,
right?
But you got the big fella. You got essentially. Back then, it was 2 low post players. Now you would have 2 guys that can play any position.
Right. They would probably be your 4 and your 5,
exactly.
But they play like point guards.
Yeah, they can play point.
So
and everything else. So
I mean, the Spurs, you already had your dynasty. You don't need to get it.
The Spurs trying to get it back, man.
I'm a Suns fan, and they can't win it. They can win it, but they would give the pick to the Rockets. So
too bad.
They traded all their picks for Kevin Durant.
That didn't work out.
Being from the DMV, I wouldn't mind seeing Washington win it.
The Wizards, man, goodness.
I mean, the Wizards fans have gone through it.
Nobody want to see the Washington Wizards win anything, man.
There are Wizards fans. This is breaking news.
I've got friends who are Wizards fans.
I've never heard somebody say I'm a Wizards fan.
I remember growing up. And I wasn't a big Wizards fan, but going to the games in, Gilbert Arenas, Caron Butler, Antoine Jameson,
they had some good teams.
They had some decent squads up there.
But nobody said outside of the DMV, I don't think anybody ever screamed.
No, that is true. That is true. And the last time they won the lottery, I believe, was for John Wall.
Was it?
Back in the day? So we'll see.
I was about to say Kwame Brown. No.
Yeah. No,
Isn't that the last time they won a lottery? No.
They got John Wall, who, by all accounts, John Wall was going to be a superstar. And he was a great player for a long time. But
what was his knees and stuff?
Yeah, his injuries it kind of derailed his career. Charlotte would also be fun. It's been a while since the Hornets have been competitive.
Have they ever been competitive? I guess they were at one point. Man,
maybe not. Like since the Bobcats. But like back in the day, yes. Before the Hornets moved to New Orleans,
exactly. That's when they had the success.
There were good teams there, but since the Bobcats era, I can't remember.
Yeah, Charlotte. I'm trying to think, man. Gosh,
I'm sure they've had some like playoff
Johnson,
teams, but
that's what I was thinking. Grandmama.
Yeah, Grandmama.
That's the last
go back that far.
They had one of their early players like Emeka Okafor was there out of UConn.
Right,
so who knows? Going to be fun. That'll be something to watch tonight. Coming up next after us, the Commodore Hour. Andrew Allegretta, Kevin Ingram recapping a big series victory for the Vandy boys against Tennessee. That'll do it for us. Jake Lyman, Derek Mason will be back from 3 to 6 tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you then.
Be loved, love your people. Have a safe, blessed, wonderful Monday. Peace.